This video will discuss religious trauma, sexual and physical abuse, homophobia, and contain spoilers for Handmaid's Tale Seasons 1 through 5. If any of these topics will impact your mental health or you don't want spoilers, please skip this video and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you. Handmaid's Tale is a book written in 1985 by Margaret Atwood, which was later adapted into a television series in 2017. This video will not be discussing the book as I have not read it and currently do not have plans to, and I will only be covering up to seasons 4 with a little bit of season 5 in the series. Let's just get into the video. The Handmaid's Tale takes place in a Christian theocratic America, now called Gilead. Birth rates have been dropping in America, which has fueled a radical Christian sect known as the Sons of Jacob to ultimately dismantle a large portion of America and instate their own Christian authority, law, and the replacement of the Constitution with biblical law. In Gilead, women are subject to biblical and less biblical misogyny. They are assigned one of a few roles. Wives of commanders, who are political officials and founders of Gilead, are given the role of simply wives. These women are assumed to be infertile, even when their husbands are actually at fault for their inability to conceive. They have some privilege compared to other women in Gilead, however, all women in this country are barred from reading, working, paying jobs, political influence, and having their own money, etc. Since wives are assumed infertile, handmaids are assigned to wives and commanders. Handmaids are young, fertile women who are ritualistically raped during ovulation in order to attempt conception for the family they are assigned to. Depending on their location and the commander they live with, they have varying levels of freedom. However, they're essentially temporary property of the family they are posted with. Their real names are replaced with the first name of their commander and the prefix of. The main character, June, is called Offred, or of Fred, after her commander, Fred Waterford, for example. Marthas are women who are essentially slaves. They can be put to do anything ranging from childcare, housekeepers, farmhands, etc. They are property of the commanders and wives who quote-unquote employ them. The most unfortunate group of women on this list is that of unwomen. These women have committed some crime against Gilead or otherwise become useless. Anything from being a lesbian to murder can result in becoming an unwoman. These women are sent to work with toxic soil cleanup and some undisclosed environmental damage. They usually die within a few weeks of being sent to the colonies that they work at. The last group of women I'll discuss are aunts, who are devout religious women who hold a position of power, often teaching or managing handmaids, disciplining or watching over the unwomen in colonies, or otherwise holding a level of control and authority over the more subjugated women of Gilead. I won't really be going into too much background lore of the series beyond this, as this video isn't really about the Handmaid's Tale in itself, but more so using it as an example of ways that religion can easily exploit power and how that exists in the real world. I did feel like I needed some context for the roles women play in Gilead to continue this video, but in terms of just explaining the series with no other commentary, that's where I'll stop. A massive topic in The Handmaid's Tale is how religion can be used to exploit people, and how religion can be warped so thoroughly from its original context without providing the opportunity to challenge the beliefs themselves nor the contradictions in the way it's practiced. Though I personally am an anti-theist, Handmaid's Tale is not a story about how religion is downright evil or horrible. Two of our main characters, June Osborne and Rita Blue, are shown through flashbacks, as well as after their escape from Gilead, to be Christian, though June's mother is shown to be repeatedly vitriolic towards the idea of organized religion, and June has somewhat of a just-in-case mindset about the baptism of her daughter, Hannah, in flashbacks. The series more so shows how religion was used to rally people around barbaric ideas such as ritual rape and violent patriarchy, ideas that many people would never subscribe to without such a strong and unquestionable figure such as a god prompting them to do so. Things such as everyday greetings become culturally independent of mainstream Christianity outside Gilead. Phrases like blessed day or go in grace are used instead of hello and goodbye, and they aren't even used among the Canadians who show support for Gilead's Christian theocracy. Even aunts, who are somewhat of religious figures in Gilead, are barred from reading, including the Bible. At various points throughout the series, they quote Bible verses from memory to handmaids. When Aunt Lydia, the aunt in charge of June's group of handmaids, tells her that women are meant to be meek while citing a Bible verse, June retorts back with a verse about righteous justice, in order to defend her choice not to reveal her friend and fellow handmaid Emily is a lesbian. She is beaten by Aunt Lydia with a taser baton for quoting a Bible verse that does not align with the views of the theocracy she resides under. When Serena, a wife and comparably privileged woman, goes in front of the council to suggest women be allowed to read and study the Bible, she is brushed off. In protest to this, she takes out a Bible and reads a verse about how everyone should be able to read the word of the Lord. As punishment for reading, she has her pinky finger cut off, an action that is supported by her husband. These scenes serve to show the cherry-picking and manipulation of religious texts, in my opinion. While the Bible says things such as suffer not a woman to teach, or that women must be meek and obedient, the verses cited by June and Serena are biblical as well, and challenge the supposedly biblical law set in place by commanders. While I think these scenes exist more so with the intention to show that Gilead is cherry-picking what suits their own ends, I do believe personally they're also effective in showing biblical contradiction as well, as misogyny is prominent throughout the Bible, but also tells people to fight against evils akin to it. Another topic I think is rather interesting about the authoritarian characters in The Handmaid's Tale, anyone from commanders, wives to aunts, is that they are shown to genuinely believe the things they say, while many of the handmaids are simply following along to avoid violent action. That being said, some handmaids are shown to genuinely be indoctrinated, and the choice in characters here I think speaks volumes about what they have to say about indoctrination. In real life, indoctrination is most successful in vulnerable people. Often this is children, but it's also common among vulnerable adults, people with mental health issues, recent traumatic events, or convicts. We see this clear as day in The Handmaid's Tale. Children who become teenagers remember nothing but Gilead and are much more obedient in being wives and handmaids, despite being subject to rape and child marriage. A great example of an adult character who's been indoctrinated is, in my opinion, Janine. Janine is shown to have been pretty much irreligious before the takeover, stating that she thinks her mother grew up Methodist, but they never really went to church. She even gets an abortion after being guilted by a pregnancy crisis center in an attempt to prevent it. However, Janine struggles with pretty severe mental health issues throughout the series. She is deeply traumatized and often acts impulsively or believes outlandish delusions in order to keep herself somewhat stable, and at one point attempts to end her own life along with the fetus she's pregnant with. Early in the series, Janine is shown to be a favorite of Aunt Lydia, often receiving excuses from her or much more gentle talking to, almost how you'd speak to a child. Despite not having given much thought to religion prior to the revolution, she has a strong belief in God and even argues with June when they attempt to escape about how she believed God quote-unquote works. Despite this, due to her instability, she is often beaten by Aunt Lydia when she acts too far out of turn, and is removed from the household her baby is born into when she's unable to comply with the boundaries set by Gilead's law in allowing her daughter Angela to be treated as the daughter of Miss Putnam, the wife she's assigned to. Early in the series, we see a flashback that takes place very recently after the instatement of the Gilead government, in which she has her eye removed as punishment for misbehavior. Another example of a less prominent adult who's been indoctrinated is that of Lily Fuller, who was a drug addict before the revolution. Despite the abuse she faces as a handmaid, she's frustrated and angered by June's upset at their current situation. She believes her material conditions have improved, giving her a roof over her head and a stable environment that she's grateful for and doesn't want to see destroyed. To end this section, I think The Handmaid's Tale does an incredible job of displaying how indoctrination and religious abuse work hand in hand, and displaying the mindsets of those who experience it in a sympathetic light. I love both of those characters, even if they frustrate me at times, because their outlook on the situations are so fundamentally different from that of characters like June or Emily, who came from generally happy and stable environments before the revolution. Where Lily was a drug addict, Janine is shown to be a single mother living in a small apartment and working a fast food job in her time before the revolution. She is also implied to have been either in an unhealthy or abusive off-and-on relationship with her boyfriend, and states to the woman at the crisis pregnancy center that being a father would not change his behavior. She struggles to get time off of work to get the appointment she believes to be for her abortion, and tells the woman at the actual abortion clinic that she can barely afford to keep her and her current son afloat with her job, and that she can't handle another child. Contrast this to June and Emily. June lived in a nice apartment with her husband, had a stable and loving group of friends, worked an office job, and had a loving and passionate mother. She by all means was happy and comfortable in her life and was in a loving and supportive relationship with a daughter she is shown to have wanted very badly through flashbacks. Emily was a biology professor who lived with her wife and their son Oliver. She and a coworker experienced homophobia at their university as the revolution began to take hold, and her gay coworker was killed on their campus. However, prior to this, she was in a stable and happy relationship with a well-paying job and loving family. Both Emily and June are outwardly against their situations and are unconvinced by the beliefs of the government controlling them. Emily steals a car after receiving female genital mutilation due to her sexuality and runs over multiple police officers, known as the Eyes, before being captured and sent to the colonies for a short time. After returning to being a handmaid, she attempts to kill Aunt Lydia, stabbing her in the back and kicking her down a flight of stairs. While early in the series, June doesn't show much outward rebellion, only being aware of her anger through her thoughts, as time goes on, she shows even greater attempts to fight than Emily did. She attempts to escape at multiple points, though deciding to stay to find her eldest daughter Hannah, she kills a high-ranking commander while posing as a prostitute. She repeatedly talks back to Aunt Lydia and Commander Waterford, even whenever she's injured as a result of it, and even sneaks over 80 children as well as some Marthas onto a plane to Canada. When her and a group of handmaids attempt to escape, and she is captured, she resists torture methods to give up their location until she's shown her daughter is at risk of being hurt. And when she is able to flee, she actually goes to the war front fighting Gilead instead of attempting to escape to Canada, only making it there after her friend who's already escaped finds her while working in mutual aid and forces her onto the boat. Okay, so why does all of this matter? What's the point of any of this other than that it's like my current interest and I want to talk about it? In real life, Christianity often targets people like Janine and Lily. Crisis pregnancy centers are a real thing, and they pose as medical centers for pregnant women, places like Planned Parenthood. but bombard women with a plethora of misinformation guided by Christianity in order to guilt or scare women out of abortion. Women seeking abortion are vulnerable no matter their material conditions, whether they are more similar to Janine or June. And as a result of the fear these women often face as a result of an unwanted pregnancy, along with the higher likelihood that they do have poor living situations, it's much more easy to convince them of your position. That is the whole reason clinics like that exist. More to the point of people like Lily, religious addiction treatment and rehabs and homeless shelters are notorious for both very low success rates as well as requiring you to comply with their personal religious beliefs in order to receive support that you may need to literally stay alive. Religious groups often even use prisons as places to convert people, telling them that they can repent from their crimes and that all humans are inherently flawed, exploiting the guilt and fear that many deal with when faced with incarceration. As I've said in other videos, religion does not have a leg to stand on. It does not have the material or scientific evidence to support its claims and as such relies on emotional manipulation and exploiting people in vulnerable positions. Because emotional responses tend to be so much more convincing to people, especially with something as existential and large as the nature of humanity and our general existence, it becomes much easier to manipulate people into doing what God supposedly wants, even if it's truly just what a group of corrupt people want in God's name. I use Handmaid's Tale as an example for these aspects of religion because it shows the culmination of what happens when religion gains power, and it's something that can be seen throughout history from the Catholic Church in the Middle Ages to Islamic theocracies to cults like Jonestown or Heaven's Gate. It shows how easy it is to convince people who are unhappy with their situation, whether that be the sons of Jacob or vulnerable people like Lily, that something outlandish and harmful is actually godly and moral. And it shows that the theology of that religion isn't really as important as the ease of how gods and religions can be exploited. They are built to be exploited, and that can be observed in real life or documented through fiction. I hope that this video did an okay job overviewing the religious themes throughout Handmaid's Tale and showing how they reflect reality. That's really all I got for today. Thanks for watching, guys. Ha det.
I stare at the populace in